Rising, First Floor, a darn good read original series. I have been here for what feels like eons. This cold, jagged landscape. The wind whips the sand violently in all directions. The fine grains tear into my bare flesh, like somebody was throwing millions of tiny needles at me from all directions. The pain was everlasting, but still I walked, like a moth to a flame, to the only light I could see. The pain fueled my rage, and the rage fueled my determination to reach my destination. As I became ever closer to the light, for the first time I could see my own body, torn to shreds from the sand whipping me for so many years. My frail body is on the never-ending verge of failure, slowly watching the source of light grow on the horizon until I finally can make out where the light is coming from. After countless years of walking, I reached my destination, a tower reaching impossible heights. It stretched so far into the sky that I could not see the top. An enormous gate opened up as I approached the tower. With a weird sense of déjà vu, I stepped inside. The ground shook as the gate closed behind me. Torches lit a large stone room. My eyes adjusted surprisingly fast for being in darkness for so long. In the middle of the room were two obsidian pedestals. On the left, a tiny dagger, unfit to butter bread. On the right, a simple club, ripped from a hardwood tree. I walked up to the club to feel its weight. As I picked it up, both pedestals dropped and disappeared into the floor. The bludgeon was heavy in my hands. It felt oddly comfortable as I flailed it around wildly. I sat on the floor, clutching my only worldly possession, waiting for what was next to come. To my excitement, it wasn't very long before the room started to change. The torches all went out simultaneously. The wall adjacent to where I entered the room started to open up. Light flooded in from the other side. My eyes were forced to close from the brightness. I stepped out into the light, and the wall slammed shut behind me. An enormous coliseum appeared before me. I could see 4 other people, like me, who had just walked out of their own rooms, all of them holding dull blades, all of them naked. The 5 of us stumbled forward with our emaciated bodies. A platform dropped from the ceiling, stopping high above us, but carrying a peculiar being. This being had deep crimson red skin and glowing red eyes. Horns covered its face and head. I was frozen stiff, just looking at this monstrosity. "Kill or die," echoed throughout the stadium as the aberration spoke. An unseen crowd's cheers shook the stadium, snapping me out of my trance. My adrenaline was pumping hard. A scream rang out as one of the other souls had fallen in a fight. I turned to my right to see a man running toward me. I raised my club and waited for him to get close. He lunged hard with his knife, losing balance as I stepped to the side. I brought my bludgeon down on his head. He tried to stand back up, even with his skull caved in. Feeling sympathy for the man, I swung again, ending him. Channeled through my club, I could feel the man's energy flow into me. His life force fueled my strength. I looked around to see the last 2 people running toward each other. I broke into a run to join the fight. A man and a woman slashing wildly at each other. I caught the woman off guard. She never even knew what hit her. And just like the last person, I could feel her vitality draining into my body. I picked up her knife and turned to my last opponent. He was approaching rapidly, knife in hand. I threw the woman's blade at him. Surprised by his agility, he dodged the knife with ease. I raised my club and swung, but was too slow. He plunged his dagger into my side. I howled out as he twisted the knife that had made its way between my ribs. I grabbed his hand and forced him to stay close. I tried to bring my club down on him, but he managed to catch my hand. We were locked in a stalemate. I bent my knees and lowered my head. I jumped full force. My cranium made contact with his face. He held on tight to me even after taking the massive blow. I did it again, this time yanking him into my jump. I hit him square in the nose. I could hear it break as I made contact. The man stumbled back, tripping over his own 2 feet. Blood poured down his face and chin. Before he had time to react, I was on top of him. I threw fists at his face, like a jackhammer against concrete. Even still, he kept struggling to fight back. I ripped the knife from my ribs. I slammed it into his temple, and he went limp. The rush of adrenaline heightened as his soul was consumed into mine. I picked up my club, realizing it now felt much lighter. I felt incredible, like I was close to the brute strength I had from when I had begun my journey across the sandy abyss. Another door opened in the Colosseum. I swiftly made my way through it to find myself in a new room. The room was large, with things I never thought I would see again. On one side of the room stood a table with one setting at it. On it was a single golden red apple. I rushed to the table and ate like I hadn't in countless years. On the other side of the room stood a white ceramic tub full of water. The tub was large enough for me to climb inside. Standing over the water, I could see my reflection. My body had been restored, and I no longer was emaciated. I started to clean my now muscular body. The warmth of the water numbed the pain from the knife wound. I stayed in the tub for a very long time, even falling asleep for a while. I awoke to the grinding sound of a pedestal rising in the center of the room. I got out of the tub and found that the stab wound had been completely healed. I didn't even have a scar from where I had been stuck. I walked over to the pedestal to find a bit of clothing on a mannequin. Just a cloth shirt and pants. I ripped the clothes off the mannequin and onto myself. As I did, the lights in the room faded. I raced to my club, and a new door opened in the room. A staircase revealed itself, and I made my ascent. When I reached the top, light flooded into the stairway. I stepped into the light and into another Colosseum.